Greetings, everyone. As you can see down here, I got a point with the other hand where normally I'd be pointing over here for the bottle, but it's that way. I do want to talk about a dream that I had here last night, but I got to tell you some situations that I believe led up to it. This here's bottle that I had made for a sister a long time ago while I was still in Texas. And I had these wires that were wrapped around it that were made up in a solution of lye and then just about anything else you could think of. There was gold and silver. There was just about every herb and spice you could think of that I could think of, I put in there. Black pepper, everything. A Colonia Cava extract, zinc powder, all sorts of things. And I boiled it for a long time to coat these wires. And the reason I did so is whatever liquid you put into this bottle would be blessed by whatever was coated on the wires, because it would put off the frequency into the liquid. And of course, I would always have people hold on to the bottle and pray and ask our king to use this bottle to bring forth what their bodies needed. Sort of like in the old days when people used to have the outhouses and they had better health because the vegetation that would grow knew what they were missing from what they were relieving themselves of in the outhouse. There's a network throughout the earth, excuse me, that's my hot sauce there. There's a network throughout the earth that when you're on a certain property and you relieve yourself, and that's part of the reason why it says if you are to relieve yourself, as in the poopies, you're to bury it. If you're just urinating, it doesn't matter so much, but you should take care, and make sure people ain't going to be sitting around that tree that you got to go on. But anyway, it would send a network through the earth as far as whatever the people were missing in their diet and in their gardens. This kingdom that's throughout the underworld, all these mycelium and all sorts of things that's throughout the earth. It's a nervous central system, just like your own flesh. If you poke yourself, it knows something's wrong, and the rest of you heals it. Well, when these farmers or people that would live out in the old homesteads using outhouses would use the bathroom, it would put a thing out on the internet, I guess you could call it, to the vegetables they were growing, and they would bring forth certain bacteria or enzymes, whatever it took, to break down certain minerals and such so that the plants could absorb it, so that when the people ate it, they would have more optimum health. We don't have that so much anymore because we have flush toilets and everything inside cement encasements, and few people have gardens like they used to. But anyway, whoever would put a liquid in here, it worked sort of like our intestinal tract. When you eat a hamburger, it doesn't mean that your liver gets the hamburger pushed through it. It's just the frequencies of the food that you eat that enter into your bloodstream and such. Of course, they say they're broke down and this and that, but it's basically the frequencies that are passed through, and that's why I had these wires on these bottles. And when people would put liquid in there, usually water, they could also put wine in there or whatever, and it would produce what they were missing in their bodies. And within sometimes there were people that actually drank from the bottle after they had prayed over it, and they were healed instantly. The ones I had, were burned up. But the sister here wrote me and says, "What is going on with your bottle?" And at first I looked and said, well, that must be a miracle, because if these wires that's underneath, are underneath this duct tape. These are 3 different color duct tape I had got from Dollar Tree, and I wound it around these wires. So the frequencies would go in there into the water and produce from the water all these things, the frequencies that were being put into the water. Because it's tightly wrapped everywhere except for a couple places where it started to come loose, Dollar Tree stuff, and this bottle is many years old. It at first I said, wow, it's got to be a miracle for all this stuff to have come out from these wires. I said, that's got to be a miracle or something. And after I sent her off the email saying it, I says, oh man, what a dummy I am. I mean, look up here at the cap. Somebody or something, tossed some coffee grounds or something on top of the bottle. Ain't no way this was going to produce anything to push up like this, all this out of these wires that are real tight up against the bottle. That's, duct tape that's wrapped to it, So I wrote her back and I said, no, I says, I don't believe it's a miracle. I believe that it is human error, because it looks like somebody missed the garbage can or something and, got coffee grounds on top of the cap even, but the bottle's innocent. It didn't do so. So anyway, the dream that I wanted to talk about, I really needed. It's one of those dreams that here yesterday or the day before, I mean, I spent pretty close to 20 hours, I'm going to say, sleeping or in bed after this here occurrence. I put out a video, the new wave cup exploded, and I mean blew up and cut me too, okay? I mean, it hurt my fingers. I was afraid to look at my hand at first because I thought it blew my fingers right off. I mean, it was a bad bang. And it shows all the stuff all over the sink and everything, all the eggshell that went everywhere because I put ground up eggshells and white vinegar into a cup, a new wave cup. I ground it up for about a minute and I tried to open it. It wouldn't open. I kept, just trying to open it. It's like, you got to open up. I didn't, I only put you on so tight, and as I'm really twisting, kaboom, boy, that space age material came apart, and it had cut me on my thumb and on my forefinger up here. But as soon as I posted this to YouTube, I received an email from my cousin that told me, he says, Al, he says, man, he says, Charlie's wife, she went out to the kitchen this morning and found Charlie dead on the floor, and Charlie's my cousin. We grew up together, very close. I love the man very much. He's younger than me, but he was just found in there on the floor dead. And it's like, wow, it really struck me. It's like, Yeshua, you got me doing this channel here, trying to get people to save their own souls. And I got relatives that won't even give me the time of day. I mean, they love me and they'll talk to me, but as far as me bringing up anything about salvation, they don't want to hear it because everyone's already saved and everything. And it caught me in despair because I've got, friends, even Harry here, hey, look at you, Timothy P. You wrote 24 seconds ago. He says, oh man, brother, I think you just had a wild party last night. Don't remember. I'm glad it didn't get in UI at least. Oh, by the way, I haven't forgotten notifications from your channel for weeks. No surprise there though. Hope you are doing better. Shalom. So Timothy P is not getting notifications that I'm posting videos. Now, I do believe Timothy P is also one of the 144,000. He probably don't like me to advertise him as such, but he's got all the indications of it, and he has truth in him. Now, Harry Sit here, he had wrote me, and, he was explaining things to me, but there's one response down here. He wrote again, and I wasn't notified. How you like that, Harry? You wrote a couple times, I wasn't notified. It says down here, he says, have they repented yet, or do they need more warnings? Because I had explained up here, about the blowing up accident and my cousin dying, and of course my cousin's dad is in the hospital because my aunt ran him over with a van, not thinking he was home, thought he was gone. And it basically, oh, there we go, Timothy P. We just got a notification that you wrote. But anyway, it peeled his leg like a grape, and he's still in the hospital, so who knows what kind of news this is going to bring. But these things just piled up and piled up on me, and it's sucking the marrow out of my bones. I mean, I loved my cousin. My uncle's in the hospital. Am I going to lose him too? I hope not. I've been praying for strength for him for when they do tell him. They don't want to say it on the phone. They want to go out there. And of course, with this corona beer-demic that's going on, things are real difficult there. Plus the mortality, thinking about the mortality. It's like, my friends, are you so convinced that I am wrong and I'm really off my rocker, making claim that I'm of the 144,000 and proving it, not only from the writings of the book of Enoch, but also from our king's writings as well. I'm one of those that teaches, he says. Even Revelations chapter 22, verse 14 says, blessed is he, who keeps the commandments, because he'll have the right to the tree of life and may enter into the kingdom, that great kingdom. So where does it leave those that do not keep the commandments, And this is where so many people differ, and they cannot see the scriptures the way they were actually written. And I've been speaking these things over and over again. Well, this all led up to the dream here I had last night. So I went out, I went to the store, skies were horrible, looked like it was going to open up at any time. It did sprinkle a little on me, and I hate getting hit by the rain that comes from the sky anymore with all the chemtrails in there and everything. But I went out, I had to get a gallon of milk, and I got a couple beers, and I brought them back, and I had to try to, soothe my soul a little bit. My heart was aching over my cousin, over everything that's going on, and then boom, that thing just about took off my hand. My hand was killing me, still is. Swelled a little bit around my fingers, but I'm just glad it didn't do more damage. Our king kept that from taking place. So I drank me about a beer and a half, and I was just overwhelmed, and I passed out, I guess, in my lounge chair while I was watching certain videos, trying to occupy my mind, That's Impossible channel and, others, The Watchmen and things of that sort, as well as this fella's The End Time Signs Prophecy Update, which I left him a comment telling him, because he's asking for people to interview, and I figure why not interview one of the 144,000, so I wrote him. And what prompted me to do that is this dream. Now, after I passed out in the chair, I came in bed, and I just forced myself to sleep. I didn't want to get up for another day like the day before was, I mean, it was horrible. I did get the kitchen cleaned up before I passed out in the chair, though, and that was quite the task. I'm telling you, that eggshell went everywhere, man. It took me hours to get all of it up, and now I go in there and I still find an eggshell here and that piece of eggshell there, and it's like, boy, and I'll wipe it down and somehow there's it's just a never-ending story. But anyway, the reason I did write this fellow and offer to do an interview with him a certain way, he can write me like he put out a deal right here, okay? And all he's got to do is put out his questions, send it to me, and I'll do like I always do. I'll play a little bit. I'll go,
case sensitive. I don't know why I put a capital H in there. Don't worry about that.
Okay, and then after the question, I can put it on pause. I can give him the answer. The next question, he can do the same, and I'll put it on pause and give him the answer. But what led me to this was when I did come into bed, and I woke up a few times, and I just fought it. I says, I'm not getting out of bed. I don't want another day. Yahweh, through your righteous son, why don't you just put me to sleep? Why'd you take Charlie? You could have took me, Nobody would even miss me. Charlie was a loved one, He was one that never really got into any sort of trouble. Even when he was growing up, he was always a pretty clean kind of guy. So, he was squeaky clean. His health was better than mine is, and he ended up on the kitchen floor not moving anymore. He can't repent. And most of you that's watching this video think that you have repented because you're Christian or whatever. And the facts are is you have not. You don't even know what repent actually means. I've been trying to put this message out for years, and it seems like only a few can hear it. Then some that do hear it, they ask, oh, how can I do this? And I explain some of the things and the smallest of simplicities, and I never hear from them again. And it's like weighing on me. It's like, man, Yahshua, when are people going to hear? Well, I fell asleep again, and I was transported out somewhere. This was a very vivid dream. And it felt as though, even though there wasn't really the evidence, I was in a place I'd never seen before. There was a lot of green plush stuff, and there were people standing all over the place, and where they were looking like, and other people looking this way was like, and other people this way was like, and people looking at me was like, and I had stepped out and I'm looking, and there were at least 10 tornadoes that I could see in my peripheral vision, and just kicking up all kinds of dust, and boy, they was some pretty big tornadoes, twisting all over the place, just reeling around. I'm looking at everybody, and it's like, come on, guys, And I raised my hands and I said, Father, Yahweh, through your righteous Son. As I was praying, I almost forgot to say, my brother Shul from Texas, I do believe he's one of the 144,000 as well. He don't believe it, but I think that he is. Either that or he's a witness to my being. But his son, I've known since he was, pretty much in diapers. And he's married off and everything, got children of his own now, but he was there, and when I started to pray, he came up and he put his chin on my shoulder. And I felt even more so being heard, and that's why I was asking for these, tornadoes to be gone. And poof, they was all gone. That created all these things. Will you please have mercy on your people and shut them down? Please just let these people, let them have a little joy, And within a few seconds, all the tornadoes were gone, and everyone was looking at me. And everyone was just looking at me, and Yakinan, he's like, oh, I love you, Al, man, and he's hugging me and giving me pats on the back and everything, But it wasn't me that did it. I was finally heard, is what I came to understand from the dream, is that now when that's going to be, I don't know. Like I say, I had a feeling it was at the time we were gathered, but it could be even now. Maybe someone's going to start opening up, maybe people's eyes will start to see and their ears start to hear. I don't know, but it was quite the dream. And it was very refreshing. Now, I needed it. I really did. I needed it. It was a horrible day here. The last time I was awake, I had some plants out on my counter. Poor tomatoes. I've been out like 3 days without any sunlight. I've had them in the kitchen. I was going to repot them, and that's why I was making that with a New Wave cup there, because I was grinding up the eggshell and the white vinegar so that it would, dissolve the calcium, and I could put it in water to feed my plants with, And I was going to, put it into the soil I was going to put my tomato plants into, so it blew up, boom. But that kind of, and what I had to do, and the reason it took one extra day was I forgot I had to pasteurize the eggshells to get rid of the salmonella or whatever. So I put them in the oven with some other soil that I had used once, just to make sure there ain't any critters growing in it. And I put them in the oven for about 198 degrees, and I just let them go for about 8 hours. And the eggshells come out fine, but when that blew, it was a bad part of the day. And then when I got news of my cousin, not having an opportunity to repent ever again, that really hit me. And then the dream, of course, gave me a little bit of a little light at the end of the rainbow. Hopefully, maybe the fellow, like I said, over here with his the fellow here with the sign and wonders, he'll read my message. I also sent him an email, and I explained to him a little bit about me and my other 143,999 brothers. And if you think that, you'd like to see the interview or something be done, please write the fella, and tell him. I mean, he gave his email over here. This is his email. You could write him and say, hey, why don't you put on Al-Yahnai Hawkins, And we'll go from there. At least that way we'll have a couple channels that are putting out truth. That would be a miracle in itself. Hopefully, people are going to start being able to hear the words that I speak. It's our King's voice. It's not me. Because I'm of the 144,000 doesn't matter a bit about your salvation unless you deny the words that cometh from my mouth. That's why it says, prove all things. Don't take my word for it. Be like those Bereans there and check everything I say to the scriptures, and you'll see that I'm not lying. If I am, show me in the scriptures. Put them out there. Don't just use one scripture, like, oh, it doesn't matter what goes into the mouth, doesn't make a man unclean. No, that's completely taken out of text and has nothing to do at all with what our King was speaking. He was first speaking about eating without washing your hands. It had nothing to do with pork, but because they didn't wash their hands, it don't matter what goes into the mouth. They was not eating pork. They weren't eating or touching the unclean. If they was touching the unclean thing, they would have showered or bathed and washed their clothes and everything else, so they'd be clean at sunset. Okay, so this had absolutely nothing to do with that. And I'm telling you, please, I'm going to bring out a series. I wanted to. I started yesterday, but the voice that was in the recording, I could hear me talk, but there were these screams and all kinds of things that wasn't going on around this way, but you could hear them in the video, and I did a little rebuking, but I couldn't use the video. And what it's about is the 144,000 are not Christians. And I'll be bringing that series out soon, so please keep an open ear for it. I'm going to be bringing it out. The 144,000 are not Christians. And I tell you, my friends, I'm exhausted, but our King has showed me, and I know he hears my prayers. He hears everything that I speak. I know that. And I pray all day long. My life is open to him 24/7. I know he hears me, but it's the answering. It's the answering. That's what our King is going to be doing. He's going to be answering, and by doing so, words are soon going to be heard. Yeah, I love y'all. Peace out.